Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning how to divide using long division a 4-digit number by a 1-digit number. Let's take a look at this example. $1,000 divided by 5. Now, the first step we're going to do is to see if we can divide 1 by 5. Since that's not possible, let's extend it to be 2 digits, and now we have the number 10. What's 10 divided by 5? In this case, it works perfectly, because 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. 2 times 5 is 10, so when we do the subtraction, we get 0. The next step is to bring down the next digit, which is still 0. And when we do 0 divided by 5, we get 0. Then we bring down the next digit. It's another 0, so we still get 0 divided by 5, and the answer to that is still 0. There's no remainder, and we just learned that 1,000 divided by 5 is equal to 2,000. Let's try the next problem. 1,003 divided by 5. First we look at 10. 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. When we subtract, we get 0. Then we bring down the next digit, 0. 0 divided by 5 is still 0. Then we bring down the last digit, 3. We can't do 3 divided by 5. 5 doesn't even go into 3, not even once. So the answer is still 0. That's the closest we can get to 3 without going above it. What this means is that we're going to have a remainder. So since 3 is the remainder, our answer is 200, remainder 3. Let's try the next problem. 1,013 divided by 5. Our first step is to look at 10. We already know that you can't divide 1 by 5, so 10 divided by 5 is perfectly equal to 2. And when we subtract, we get 0. The next step is to bring down the next digit. Now we have 1. We can't do 1 divided by 5. The closest we can get to that is 0. And 0 times 5 is 0, and we still get 1. The next digit we can bring down is the 3. Now we have 13. What can we multiply by 5 to get as close to 13 as possible without going over it? 5 times 3 is too much because that equals 15, and 15 is greater than 13. So we're going to have to stick with 5 times 2, which is equal to 10. And when we subtract, we get 3. We can't do any more, so the 3 is our remainder. Our answer becomes 202, remainder 3. Let's try another problem. 1,103 divided by 5. Since we know that 1 can't be divided by 5, let's look at 11. The closest we can get to 11 without going over it is 5 times 2, which equals 10. And when we subtract, we get 1. Then we bring down the next digit. It's 11 again. And so that way we know that the closest we can get again is 2, which equals 5 times 2 is 10. And we subtract and we get 1 again. The next step is to bring down the last digit, 3. Now we have 13. 5 times 3 is still too much. 15 is greater than 13, so we have to go with 2 again. That gives us 10. And when we subtract, we get 3. We can't divide anymore, so 3 is our remainder. Our answer is 222, remainder 3. Let's try another problem. 1,234 divided by 5. Since we know that we can't do 1 divided by 5, let's look at 12. Make it a 2-digit number. The closest we can get to 12 without going over it is 5 times 2, which is 10. And when we subtract, we get 2. Then we bring down the next digit. We bring down 3 to make 23. The closest we can get to 23 without going over it is 5 times 4, because 5 times 5 is 25, and that's too much. 5 times 4 is equal to 20, and when we subtract, we get 3. Then the next step is to bring down the 4. Now we have 34. We're looking for the closest number to multiply by 5 to get us to 34 without getting over 34. 5 times 7 is 35. That's too much. So let's try one less than that. 5 times 6 is equal to 30. And when we subtract, we get 4. We can't divide anymore, so 4 is our remainder. So our answer is 246, remainder 4. I'll erase these for now, so we have some more room to work with. Let's try another problem. 3,456 divided by 5. Let's first look at the first digit. We can't do 3 divided by 5, so let's extend it to the first 2 digits. 34 divided by 5. How do we what number do we multiply 5 by to get as close to 34 as possible without going over it? 7 is too many, so let's try 6. 6 times 5 is equal to 30. 34 minus 30 is equal to 4. Then we bring down the next number, 5. Now we have 45 divided by 5. If you know your multiplication tables, you know in your heart that this works out perfectly, because 45 divided by 5 is equal to 9. 9 times 5 is equal to 45. When you subtract, you get 0. Then we bring down the last number, 6. How many times can we put 5 into 6? We can put it in once. And when we do 5 times 1 and write that under the 6 and subtract, we get 1. Since we can't divide anymore, 1 is our remainder. And so our answer is 691, remainder 1. Let's try one more problem. $6,578 divided by 5. Let's look at the first digit. 6 is big enough so that we can fit 5 into 6. So let's start with just the first digit. We can only put it in once. So 1 times 5 is equal to 5, and when we subtract, we get 1. Then we bring down the next digit, which is 5. Now we have 15 divided by 5. That works out perfectly, because 15 divided by 5 is equal to 3. 3 times 5 is 15, and we subtract and get 0. Then we bring down the 7. How many times can we fit 5 into 7? We can fit it in once. 1 times 5 is equal to 5. And when we subtract again, we get 2. Finally, we have one more digit to bring down, the 8. Now we have 28 divided by 5. The closest we can get to 28 is 25, which is 5 times 5. So 5 goes in the last spot, and we multiply 5 times 5 is equal to 25. We subtract, and then we get 3. Since we can't do any more division, 3 is our remainder. So the answer we get is 1,315, remainder 3. That's how to divide 4-digit numbers by a one-digit number. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.